Hi there, Mike McArthur from the Oshkosh Public Library here with some more Librarian Learns. This is the show where I talk about a piece of local Oshkosh history that I've wondered about myself or someone's asked me about while I worked at the library. I'm going to cut in here for a second. This is actually an updated version of the video I posted about a month ago. That video got some really insightful corrections and kind of enhancements and additional information that I really wanted to fix and include in this video. Goes to show you that I pay attention to the feedback, and if I'm wrong enough, I will go back and fix it. Hopefully all the corrections are edited back in here and are so smooth that it appears like I did it perfect the first time, which is not true. Special thanks to Jerry Grzib for helping me correct and update this video. And with that, back to me. Today I'm taking a look at a railroad of which some of you might have a lot of pleasant memories and others not so pleasant. That is the Soo Line that came directly through downtown Oshkosh for over a century. Who thought it was a good idea to have a major railroad completely bisect the city? Let's take a look and find out. So Oshkosh had three principal railroad lines. The Chicago Northwestern that ran up from Milwaukee and came up along the west side of Lake Winnebago, crossed the Fox River, and then continued up Broad Street till it left the city limits. The Milwaukee Road, which came to Oshkosh in 1871 from a spur coming from Ripon. It had a small rail yard at 4th Street and crossed the Fox River, and then had its terminus at a depot on Market Street. And it had the Wisconsin Central Line, which would become the Soo Line, which came up from the south and went directly through downtown Oshkosh. What would become the Soo Line got its start as the Wisconsin Central Line in 1871. However, the original line through Oshkosh was actually built by another company, the Milwaukee and Lake Winnebago Railroad Company, which had the same owners as the Wisconsin Central Railroad Company, and the two later merged to become the Wisconsin Central Railway Company. Confused yet? In 1909, the Minneapolis-St. Paul-Sault Ste. Marie line took control of the Central Line, and it became what would become the Soo Line. People started calling it the Soo Line, though it wasn't until 1950 that it dropped its more formal name, the Minneapolis-St. Paul-Sault Ste. Marie line, and officially became the Soo Line. So the reason that the Soo Line ran directly through Oshkosh for over 113 years was that Oshkosh really wanted it there. So let's turn back the clock to 1881. Oshkosh is booming. It's a massive lumber town. The two previous mentioned train lines, the Milwaukee Road and the Chicago Northwestern lines, have been a boon for exporting Oshkosh goods all over the country and the world. But the city planners really wanted a train line and depot downtown. So in 1882, there was a lot of back and forth between the railroad companies and the city planners of Oshkosh. The railroad lines needed this common council to approve about a $30,000 bonds to build the railroad here. Landowner Joseph Stringham donated some property along Michigan Street to act as the depot. So this allowed them to cross the Fox River at the bridge that was currently being run by the Milwaukee Road Company, in between Wisconsin Street Bridge and the Jackson Street Bridge. Later, the Wisconsin Central built its own bridge. For a time, there were actually two bridges running parallel on the river, which made no real sense. Eventually, the Milwaukee Road decided to abandon the original bridge for the newer Wisconsin Central Bridge, since the Milwaukee Road didn't do much business on the north side of the river. From there, it would wind its way through downtown Oshkosh in a reverse S curve with a depot just behind what is now the 400 block of Main Street. It took this route parallel to Main Street mostly because the Main Street business owners were adamant that this line not actually cross Main Street in the downtown area, since it would interfere significantly with traffic and commerce when it stopped to load and unload passengers. The Wisconsin Central Line made its first stop in 1883, and it worked out really good for places like the newly opened Grand Theater and later the Athearn Hotel and the businesses there. Just about everybody else came to regret this situation very quickly. The Soo Line traveling through Oshkosh had over 35 at-grade crossings. That is 35 points where roads crossed the train tracks. In the early days, there were almost no signs, no bells, no whistles, no gates, nothing. It was kind of dangerous. The train, in order to navigate the S-curve through downtown, had to go very slowly, and when it didn't, it risked derailment. And if the conductor decided to speed up a bit, people would complain. There was a story in the 1890s that the mayor was going to come out and start arresting these conductors who were speeding through downtown Oshkosh. Once the automobile became more prevalent in the 30s, 40s, traffic became a big concern. Sometimes you would be stuck at traffic as long as it took the Soo Line to offload and unload passengers from the depot. In 1890, priests at the Presbyterian and First Congregational Church on Church Street complained that there seemed to be trains going every half hour on a Sunday, disrupting their masses. My favorite complaint about the trains and the depot location from the 1890s was that someone complained that the depot was right behind Main Street, and the first thing people saw after they got off the train were all of the outhouses of the Main Street businesses. Most dangerous was the crossing and right-of-way along Division Street. The train crossed Division just north of Church Street and traveled up along the terrace of Division Street, with very little space between the road and the sidewalks, and cutting right through the driveways of numerous homes on Division. With the train moving so slowly, neighborhood kids would often grab hold of it on their skateboards and bikes and let it pull them around, resulting in a couple of very grisly accidents. Starting in the 1930s, the city really wanted the Soo Line to move its tracks out of downtown and eastward to parallel the Chicago Northwestern lines. However, this was going to be massively expensive, and being that these were competing train lines, there was really no financial motivation for them to do this. Finally, in 1992, the Wisconsin Central Transportation Corporation engaged in talks to purchase the Soo Line, thus clearing the roadblocks for the two train lines to merge, finally moving the slow-moving trains from downtown Oshkosh to Broad Street. In 1996, the city began removing the 4.5 miles of Soo Line tracks going directly through the city, as well as the swivel bridge that crossed the Fox River. And here I am on the south side of the river here, just about at the point where the Wisconsin Central Soo Line crossed over the Fox River and began its journey through downtown. And again, you can see the area basically where I'm standing and on the other side of the river look nothing like they did when the Soo Line originally, was built in 1883. It doesn't even look the same as it did when the Soo Line was taken out in 1996. It was pointed out to me that the fishing bridge is actually built on the original pylons of the old train bridge. It's very pretty today, and again, like I said, it's strange to think that a train came across this part of the river, for over a century. So I'm at the 500 West parking lot behind the 500 block of Main Street. You can kind of see the Gibson behind me. So basically I'm on Division Street, which is right behind me here. So this is exactly where the Soo Line crossed over. It snaked its way through downtown and went behind all those businesses on the 400 block where that original depot behind where Kits and File is today. That depot was removed in 1951 and replaced with one on the south side. Seeing it here today, you'd never know that a massive amount of freight trains and passenger trains travel down this street, sharing the road with pedestrians and cars. Seems crazy, but that was normal for 113 years. So hey, I learned something. If you like these videos, want to see more of them, be sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, maybe tell a story or two how you spent what you did while you were stuck in traffic waiting for the Soo Line to cross every major street in downtown. And with that, I will see you later.